Hello, my name is Susan Leopold. I work with Tara at Consumer Reports, and I'm here to share with you a product we're probably going to be launching very soon. It's a little bit rough, but it's called Crowd Signal.
Speak up a little bit.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Is that better? Yes. I apologize. I'm sorry. Okay. So anyway, I'm Susan Leopold. I'm from Consumer Reports. I work with Tara, and I'm here to share with you a product we're working on. It's called Crowd Signal. The value proposition is, as it says on the slide, is help consumers learn from their neighbors to find the best cell carrier. Some of the findings, I wanted to kind of step back. We did a lot of research on this topic, and I tried to bubble up, I thought was kind of the most important and also some of the most fun facts. Most users did not know how much data they used. However, if they went over, they knew. Most users bought an unlimited plan for peace of mind, even when it was probably advantageous to buy a different plan and it would cost a lot less. There's this kind of angst as far as I don't want to go over, I don't want to break the rules. So the marketing and the plan complexities, as far as I'm concerned, has worked as far on the carrier parts. Users had an extremely intense, and you may have this feeling, and conflicting feelings about their carriers, which leads into my next one of my favorite direct quotes is, Verizon is the best, but I hate them. And this is a direct quote, you can't make that up. Some other quotes are, there's no clear way to get plan price information. We knew this, but we wanted to hear it from real users. Plans are confusing. Again, we knew this, but we wanted to hear this. Misleading pricing information on plans, our theory is that that's what carriers do. They have the best of intentions. They want to give good service. But from a marketing perspective, confusion and constant change is advantageous to carriers, not to consumers. And cell phone service is very expensive. This was interesting. Not everybody thought it was expensive, depended on the budget, but overall, people did understand, and they're coming to understand that monthly plans are getting higher and higher, and this is a cost they didn't have 10 years ago. So this is a new thing in their budget. Feelings, this is also one of my favorites. The school board got BlackBerries. They were walking around like presidents. So there's some status issues here, right? So what does that mean? Why did this person say this? It was very kind of hand on hip. They have these cell phones, therefore they're important. So right now cell phones are ubiquitous, but it's interesting as far as how it stacks up. Maybe a BlackBerry is different. There's a status there. So anyway, I could go on and on, but that's kind of the highlights of the research. This is a little bit about the product. The Crowd, the first thing is the Crowd tells us their location and their carrier. Please enter your zip code, select your carrier. Super basic. We're going to work on basically potentially a location-based service where you don't enter your zip code, maybe where we find you. That's for another day, but we're trying to make this as simple as possible. The next part is the Crowd shares their details about their carrier. It's really hard to figure out what you're going to ask for, so we narrowed it down to 4 questions. Monthly cell phone bill, what do you think about this? This is perceived value. Coverage, again, this is not quantitative research, this is perceived coverage. Customer service, somebody could be super nice to someone and still give them a horrible review. Again, this is perceived, this is all qualitative feedback. And data speed. If I may think it's super fast, someone else next to me in the same zip code could think it's super slow. So those are the 4 questions we settled on. And then, since this is a work in progress, there's a thank you page. We are still in the process of showing people the results. So the main thing is we want to ask the Crowd to rate their service, which I'm here to ask you, is what are the motivating forces? I feel like we're here to try to solve a problem. Hopefully this is going to solve that problem. But what I'd like to ask of this Crowd is, how do we get the Crowd to rate their carriers? How do we get people to rate not only negative, how does this become, I don't want this to be called bash the carriers, but how do they get them to have some meaningful feedback? So I'm open to any suggestions or comments. That's pretty much it. So.
Can you tie it to some other action that they're already doing with you, like renewing their subscription?
It's a good question. We right now have built this very standalone. We wanted to get to market very quickly. We're in week 6 of a 10-week, what we're calling 10-week kind of development cycle. So we said no barriers. People don't have to pay. It's not part of the subscription. But absolutely, if this takes off, absolutely.
Might be a way to make it take off.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Not that you have do it this way, but that you're prompted to do it when you're interacting with something else on the site.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hi, Leah Shanley, Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington. The FCC, which you may already be aware of, did a national broadband map in which they used crowdsourcing with 2 million people contributing for their mobile app. They were able to determine if companies were providing the service they said they were. In fact, held a couple of companies accountable for not providing the service that they're advertising. So is that something you could maybe piggyback with that group, since the FCC is doing another round of these kind of data collection?
Sure, we have, it's a great comment. Again, this is a 10-week project, so we're not ready to go out to regulatory bodies and say, pitch this product right yet. It's not exactly ready for prime time. When it is, absolutely. So it's right now we're trying to get the concept out there, trying to figure out whether people like this. Is it part of Consumer Reports or Consumerist, which is another one of our properties? And then we would go further, but I think it's really interesting.
Hao Chi, Northwestern University. So I think this is really interesting, and my question is, what is the value you're providing to not consumers in general, but the consumers or the people who are going to be doing this task, right? So I think a lot about giving immediate rewards to the people who are supplying data. I think a somewhat analogous situation is for broadband, where people use speed tests. Mm-hmm. I don't know why people are so obsessed with speed tests, but enough people use it that they actually get pretty reliable data on ISPs within the neighborhood. And I was wondering if some of those same techniques or other techniques might work for this, and what that would look like.
No, I think that's a really good point. We've talked about gamification a la Foursquare type of stuff, and we kind of took that out. I like the speed test concept a little bit better than the gamification part, kind of instant. I can foresee, or I could see something where you thought it was this fast. What is it quantitatively, right? Like that could be kind of interesting. I don't know if that's going to get the crowd excited and get them to rate, but I mean, ideally, I could see a place where let's just say there's, I don't know, like a ballpark in I don't know, in San Francisco, and there's horrible reception if you have AT&T. Okay, that would be an interesting event and an interesting moment where we could take the crowd, maybe use this app. Everybody says it's horrible, and then that information goes to AT&T, and maybe they build a tower next to the ball field. First world problem, I know. We're not solving these other things, but it could be kind of interesting. So, but sure. Oh, sorry.
In the interest,
sure.
Do you have another question?
Just a quick question.
Oh, sorry.
What's the value proposition? Is it the app itself, the access to this group of people who are going to rate things, or is it the actual information from the rating? What are you trying to build on?
It's the information, so the part that's not built yet. So part one is rate the service, and really part two is now that you're either going to move, let's just say you're moving locations and maybe you need to change carriers, or you're not satisfied with your current carrier, or your contract is up. There's lots of different triggers for changing carriers. You can actually look, oh, you know what? I'm going to look at my zip code or in my locale or wherever I'm moving and see actually where it is. So unfortunately, I can't show you what the benefit is, but this is part one.
So I promised that we would. I promised that we would start and end on time, and by golly, I think we've done it. So I want to thank our speakers for their incredible willingness to compress really exciting projects into 5 minutes. I promised them, though, that in recompense, that you would share your thoughts and contributions on the HackPad, and that you would volunteer, send your students, get them help. These are really original places to do work and that make a difference in the world. And I hope that we can continue this tradition of bringing together the research community and the public policy and public interest community more often to measure what works, not in terms of projects in the abstract, not in terms of just making things more efficient, but in terms of really downstream impacts on making a real difference in real people's lives. So with that, is there any logistical announcement besides coffee or what? Coffee. Coffee. The speakers will hang down here, and we invite you to come and talk to them down here or upstairs. Thank you.